Hi everyone, I'm Marcus and I'm the flood risk manager for Lewisham. I've got a background in sort of civil and environmental engineering. So I used to work in North London, really designing and delivering SUDs, so sustainable drainage systems, which are just effectively landscape features that help manage water, and go into it a bit more later. So at Lewisham, I'm responsible for the lead local flood authority duties, which are statutory duties. Sorry, I've got a bit of a sore throat, but I'll try my best. I'm the lead local flood authority, lead in Lewisham Council, which basically means we carry out LLFA statutory duties, which is basically managing, working in partnership to reduce flood risk in the borough, but also ensuring development doesn't have an adverse impact on flood risk, amongst various other things, working with communities to communicate that flood risk and try and empower communities to action. Just a bit of context where Lewisham sits in a hydrological perspective. So we're right against the Thames, and we're within the Ravensbourne catchment, right at the northern end of the catchment. So all the water that falls in Bromley, most of the water that falls in Bromley and some of the water that falls in Greenwich will flow down here and flow through the Ravensbourne just there. So it's just really to understand why we need to have a sort of coordinated approach to deal with water, because water doesn't follow administrative boundaries, it flows, but also really I just wanted to show why Lewisham's so unique, because in a London borough it's got so many open watercourses. So if you go to Lambeth or Southwark, they're all culverted over, and in Lewisham you have these great spaces to travel along, to enjoy, and as well as people, wildlife have that opportunity. So I think even recently I was in the culvert underneath next to Lewisham Police Station. There's the River Quaggy's culverted there, and even in this dark space with no light, it was teeming with life. I saw a crab, a flounder, and just brilliant environments that we have, and we should really celebrate them. But as well as having those open rivers, it does come with associated risk. So this is just, I know it's not strictly biodiversity, but while I've got you here, this is the flood risk map for Lewisham. So you have sort of the red area shows areas of fluvial flooding, so river flooding, so when rivers burst their banks and they flood the floodplain. So in the north, that's sort of tidal flooding from the River Thames. But as well as that fluvial flooding, you also have surface water flood risk, which is basically because of the urban nature of our cities and the amount of impermeable spaces they have. Basically, water can't. We've disconnected the surface from the subbase, so water can't percolate through the ground. So it's got no other way to go except flowing along our roads, into our gullies and overwhelming our drainage systems, and then they flow over the road. So those sort of purple lines would have been in a pre-developed Lewisham. That's where they would have been the streams and the tributaries to the River Pool and the Quaggy and the Ravensbourne. So really, I just wanted to talk to you about, so this is just an infographic that shows traditional drainage. So what I was talking about before, we have our houses, our roads, and all these hard standing areas. In houses, it rains, the water hits your roof, it goes down your downpipe, and it goes into, in Lewisham we have two types of sewerage systems. So we have a combined system, which basically means where your foul water, your waste from your toilets and your sink gets mixed in with the rainwater and goes off to Crossness and gets treated by Thames and discharged into the Thames. So treated by Thames Water and then discharged into the Thames. But you also have a separate system, which when this is only more in the less developed the more newly developed areas of Lewisham. So in the north, in the south of the borough, you have a separate system, which when it rains, the downpipes connect into a surface water pipe, and it gets discharged straight into the nearest watercourse or Thames Water surface water sewer, which causes a lot of issues. So all the pollution builds up on roads. It sits. All the pollutants from car tyres and exhaust fumes sit on the roads, and when it rains, all this water and pollutants are washed into our watercourses and cause various issues, like changing the environment of our rivers, so they're less amenable to life, and also we've prevented water recharging our aquifers. So like, I know this summer it was extreme drought conditions, and yeah, that's partly because we don't use the water that falls on us, and even now we're in a time of more flood and deluge, but ultimately that water almost passes through our environment as quickly as possible and rushes out to our rivers and rises. So I don't know if you ever noticed the Ravensbourne or the rivers when you walk past after a period of rain, they really rise up really quickly and the flow's really quick after it, whereas in a more natural setting, the flow would be much more varied and wouldn't have that sort of extreme peak. Yeah, and really, there's so many issues around the drainage infrastructure that we design our cities around. And I think part of the movement now and what SUDS and sustainable drainage does is manage the water where it sits and uses that water as a resource to allow nature to thrive. I think even if you see at the end of the downpipe there, and where water pools, it creates life and it allows vegetation to grow, and this is what we need to be doing. So those traditional drainage systems have led to increased risk of flooding. So this is 1968, Catford Bridge Station, and this was really the last major flooding incident in Lewisham, and I think it was only about 2 days of rain which led to this event, but it was over the whole sort of Bromley and Greenwich region, so the catchment was really wet, and it caused the right the way through from Bellingham, Downham, Ladywell, Lewisham and Lee all flooded, and it was a really serious event. And sort of since this flooding, there's a lot of a lot of hard engineering solutions have been implemented to sort of raise the banks and raise the walls, but it doesn't necessarily deal with the root cause of the issue, which is managing the water where it falls. And this is more of a localised flooding, so I could have used 100 images from the last few days. I think just as walking down there, there's a massive puddle, and because of the impermeable nature of our cities, all that water flows to the low point. It can't drain, and it leads to flooding of houses. But as well as flood risk, we talked about also loads of water quality issues around our drainage system. So like our gullies are basically vehicles to transport trash into rivers, because as soon as you get a big flow, all those plastic bottles are pushed through gullies and out into our watercourses. So this is more of a sewage fungus. So this is more of an issue we talked about those separate systems. So this is a misconnection. So when people sometimes they have their washing machine going straight into the rainwater drain, and it causes this sort of sewage fungus in rivers. There's more of sewage fungus. This is actually a SUDS feature, but just with the amount of pollution in the sewage system, even the SUDS features which help to reduce that pollution, because the plants break down pollutants, break down the phosphates in the water. Even SUDS systems get overwhelmed. And that's another sort of sewage out. These are all in London. Most of them are in the River Lee, around sort of the River Lee. And this is more of an industrial effluent. So industrial effluent just pumped straight in, or just let drain straight into the river. So moving away from the traditional drainage system, what we want to create is these sponge cities. So we talked about storing water where it falls and using it as a resource, and allowing it to allow it to fall and soak into the ground, and allow it to water plants we have, basically, and so many issues can be alleviated by using it. I think earlier one of the issues about traditional drainage, I think even simply you just walk along the road and you can see where tree roots are trying to find water, and they're trying to move up to the surface, and it creates uneven footways that we have to spend more and more money to replace them and maintain them. If we allowed trees to have permeable spaces around them and created SUDS tree pits, then this would be less of an issue, because the tree roots wouldn't have to push upwards, and it also allows us to recharge our aquifers and break down. So I think rain gardens are basically a planted depression along a road, and I think that's where I first came to hear about the St John's Greening Society because they wanted to create a rain garden on Thornbill Road, and these features, rain garden features, the plants will break down those oils in the runoff, and help to treat it and reduce the risk of pollutants in watercourses. So what can we do to try and implement these sponge cities approaches? So I think it's a collective effort. Much of the catchment in Lewisham is individual homeowners and Victorian terrace houses and large roof areas, as well as so individual property owners can easily create rainwater planters, which is just the sort of thing shown on the left. Just the downpipe goes into a planted box, and if there's too much water, it'll be allowed to flow back into the drainage system. But it just helps provide some storage and reduces that sort of peak rainfall that creates flood events, but also provides biodiversity and allows environments to increase the amount of biodiversity they have. And similarly, any small extensions, green roofs, and you can, if anyone does have an extension that has a green roof, you can also try and divert, so it doesn't just take the area that it drains. You can also try and get more water on it, so you can try and get the other roofs to feed into that. It's just about managing managing that runoff from your own environment. But as well as individual homeowners, we need to be creating rain gardens. Every public realm scheme should integrate rain gardens in where they can. The fabric, we do have spaces within our public realm environment where we can implement these features, and we need to do it. So this is more of a traffic calming scheme. So when we have build-outs, so similar to what you see on Friendly Street, you have small concrete build-outs. It's very easy for these features to ultimately be converted into rain gardens. So for parking prevention schemes, so where you don't want people crossing over and driving over footway, you can use green infrastructure to try and create that barrier. Separating cycling infrastructure from road infrastructure to helps give that cyclist that feeling of safety, but also manages water off the road. And within housing land, a lot of housing land has amenity grassland around it that's underutilised, and it could be used to manage that water that falls on the roofs of those housing estates, and also to help to fuel community growing systems and store water in water butts to water those community growing planters. Schools have large, hard-standing playgrounds, large roofs, and suds can be used a great way to engage kids and create that connection to nature and biodiversity within school children. Natural flood management and tree planting, so like in higher up areas or on street trees, trying to intercept rainfall where it falls, and using natural flood management techniques, so creating ponds on flow lines in hilly areas, and all of these things have a great cumulative impact to both reduce flood risk but also to improve biodiversity. So this is constructed wetlands, so where we talked about surface water drainage systems, so where you have the separate systems and you have surface water sewers connecting directly to rivers. Before they connect to rivers, we should create constructed wetlands on them, so excavate the land and allow them to feed into these wetland features, and the wetland features will help break down those pollutants that are in our public environment before they discharge to rivers. And then also river restoration projects, so naturalisation of rivers and allow rivers for space to flood naturally and reconnect them with the floodplains. So I think there are some projects in Lewisham that have already sort of done this and really highlighted integrated biodiversity in the heart of their schemes. So sort of Ladywell Fields, river restoration project at Cornmill Gardens, that's quite an old photo. So it doesn't really, it's a lot more overgrown now. And also Chimbrook Meadows, which is, Chimbrook Meadows is actually one of the first naturalisation projects, and really I think it was about 2002, and it's really community-driven river restoration project where the community identified the fact that this river could be improved, that the concrete inlet could be removed, and the park could be used to manage floodwater. I think that's it.